Well, let's get more on the Chinese economy and speak to Seijiro Takeshita in London. He's the director of Mizuho International. That's a London-based securities and investment banking arm of Mizuho Financial Group. Mr. Takeshita, China now says it's loosening its tight lending controls. How significant do you think this move is in promoting growth, and why is China doing this now?
Well, I think a lot of people are expecting this to happen, particularly in the first quarter of next year. Our economist Shen was also expecting this to happen probably in January, but it's happened a little bit earlier. And I think one of the reasons is that, for example, we are seeing, for example, inflation rate settling down in October at 5.5% for the first time in 5% in 5 months, which is still a far cry from their 4% target. But nevertheless, they are getting worried now about the growth perspective. Now, this wave from Europe resulting in lower than expected growth. So their focal point is now much more into the growth side, and this has significant effect to the region, particularly, for example, if you look at Japan, you see the factory automation and these machinery-related issues doing very well today.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important point you make, because there must be a worry. There seems to be a cooling off of Chinese exports. How much is that being fueled by a sluggish US economy and the ongoing Eurozone debt crisis?
I think the focal point is definitely on the latter, and we all know, for example, there's been a concerted effort today, which is magnificent as far as timing is concerned, but of course it's not really hitting the core of the problem. We have to wait until 8th or 9th or even further onwards, of course, to see the progress of this talk, but nevertheless, at least they're trying to hold the systemic risk from occurring, like we saw in 2008 or 9. So this is a joint concerted effort, and as long as it's a joint concerted effort, it's much better to basically hold off systemic risk from occurring.
Let me just ask you about the wider regional picture in Asia. I mean, if things are slowing down for China, is this also being reflected in other emerging Asian economies? I mean, India, for example, has sounded a warning it's experiencing slow growth.
Well, unfortunately, I think all will be affected. That's one of the reasons why we're seeing joint concerted effort, as we saw yesterday and today. And you're seeing this in numbers in China as well. So there are going to be some indirect knock-on effect that would take place. And I don't think Asia or Japan is certainly not going to be avoided from that negative influence. But of course, I do think that they do have what we call the alpha growth that is occurring in these areas, which that's one of the reasons why these companies in Japan, for example, are trying to take advantage of the geographical areas in order to benefit from the stance that they're in. So, yeah, I do think that there are extraordinary reasons, these regional factors that will be included, but still the big wave cannot be avoided. I think that's the picture of it all.
Let me just finally take you back to the easing of these lending policies by the Chinese central bank. I mean, the banks were seen to be lending too much money too quickly, especially to support unsustainable prices in the property market. We know that. So who is now likely to benefit from the easing of these lending restrictions by the Chinese central bank?
I think, firstly, a lot of SME that were suffering from lack of funds, that certainly will be benefiting. And as you just reported earlier, of course, there still is problems of overheatedness shown, for example, in property prices. But I think what they're worrying right now is, as we just talked about, the global implications that are starting to hurt their growth levels, which now has resulted in many to believe that they have turned the tide of their policies as we speak.
All right, Seijiro Takeshita in London, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.